Now that we saw views on the previous episode, it's time for us to see the Blade template engine. Blade is actually a simple and very powerful templating engine provided by Laravel. Unlike other popular PHP templating engines, Blade does not restrict you from using plain PHP code in your views, so you can actually render PHP code inside along with HTML. In fact, all Blade views are compiled into plain PHP code, and actually after that they are cached until they are modified, meaning that Blade adds zero overhead to your application. So how do we work with this in the Laravel framework, and where actually those Blade views are located? So following the latest episode, if you go to resources and views, this is the place that will have your default location for your Blade views. So everything that is suffixed with .blade.php means that Laravel will understand that it needs to render a Blade templating engine on it in case it sees directives like this one here that you can see here on the left and on the right. These kind of directives that you see here, it's called Blade statements. So it means that everything that you put inside, it's processed by the Laravel templating engine called Blade to actually compile it and then show the result without showing these two brackets, these double brackets left and right. So as we saw in the previous example, and let's just show here very quickly. So if I go to our website here, and in this case, let me just see the name that we gave, it was Contact Us. So if I place here Contact Us, you'll see that it shows 2018 and not actually that code that was just produced here, this date Y in the normal PHP code that we are used to see. So this is, let's say, the basics about Blade. Is everything that you put inside these two double brackets, it's processed like a Blade statement, just like it shows here. But this is just the beginning, because there is much more things that you will learn on this episode about the Blade and the powerful template engine and flexible that can help you to be coherent to create very good HTML structures and view structures for your website. So before we transform our example that we have here about the contact page, this HTML page that you're used to see, it's a normal bootstrap page that I just used here. Let's first create a new file here on the left called, for instance, just test.php. So I call it test.blade.php, and I'm just going to do a normal HTML boilerplate here. And after creating this boilerplate template, we are just going to load it up here on a new route that I'm just going to create called tests, or call it Blade, and then I load this test view that we just created. So I'm just going to put here tests, and then I'm going to write test view to make tests with Blade. So again, if we see here, it says /blade. So if I go here to the top on the address bar and I write /blade, view to make tests with Blade. So if you go view source, it's exactly the HTML code that I just produced. So now we are going to move on to learn what are Blade directives. So Blade directives is basically components that you are going to write up here. So it's a directive that will help you to do very different kinds of things. So let's start by understanding the section directive, for instance. So I'm going just to put here like body and then end section on this case. And actually here I'm just going to do a show directive to show something. And I'm just going to put here, this is the start of the body. And then we'll see what does this mean in the continuation of this example. And I'm just going to also put here some breaks, and then I'm going to put another one called yield. So, and then I'm going to put content. So this is actually here I'm going to call it start, so you can see what does it mean. And so it's a start section that says it's the start of the body, then it says show, then it has some BRs here, and then a yield content. So this means that we are now creating what is a Blade structure. So Blade structure is a layout. It's a layout that you create that then it's inherited from your final view that you want to show information on here. So it means that you can actually, on another view, pass information that goes in this show and also information that goes on this yield. And we are just going to see that example in a very simple way after this one. So if I do an F5 here, as you can see, it just says this is the start of this body, and then it places those BRs that you see, and then place this section, neither the show, neither the yield, right? So now I'm going just to create here a new called child.blade.php. And here on the web, instead of loading these tests, I'm going to load the child. And this child now have a new Blade directive called extends. So extends means that we are extending other Blade view to then populate that parent Blade view with information that we are going to put here. So I'm going to extend the test. So it means that Blade will understand that he needs to use the test as a parent skeleton view and then enrich the test with the information that I'm passing here. So, and this is a very important concept that you need to apprehend. That is, what I'm doing here is actually working on a child view that will be loaded. Of course, this is the one that goes here on the route, child, as you can see, but it will allow you to construct itself extending a skeleton or a parent view that is called, in this case, the test one that we have here. So now all you need to do is actually populate these two directives that you have here. So we have the section start that says something and then a show. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going here to my file and I say, okay, on the section start that is present on my parent view, I want to show what already exists. So you call parent, and then you say, for instance, this is more information that I want to show, and you close it down here and you close the end section. So as you have here, you see there is a section and an end section. The parent tells the framework that I don't want to override everything that is inside this section, but actually I just want to show and to what is first here and then append it to the rest of the information that I have here. So let's see what this happens now on the screen. So I do an F5, you see this is the start of the body, this is more information that I want to show. So as you can see, it showed the first section from the parent and then the child information that I placed here on this child blade. This is more information that I want to show. Now logically, if you take this parent out, it means that you are completely overriding that section start that says here. So if I do an F5, you will see that this is the start of the body is going to disappear because we are completely overriding this section start. So my final view, it's the child that is inherited, that is extended using this skeleton from the test. It shows the document type, the HTML, as you can see here, everything from the test, the main one, and then it starts processing these parts, as you can see. So what about this yield content? So yield content is actually just a placeholder as a section. So all you need to do is just section content, and you just need to write this is the part where it said yield content. So, and then you put an end section. So if we go back here and do an F5, this is the part where it says yield content. So as you can see again, is using the test.blade to extend it on the child and then replacing these placeholders that we're just talking here. So section, it allows you to append information there and or replace totally. Yield, you can just create your section on your child and then it completely replaces this zone where you have that yield placed there. Now there is a small difference that I want to show to you. You saw here that I placed section and end section, and here I place section and show, right? So this might cause you a bit of confusion. So what happens here? What happens here is that instead of saying end section where it replaced totally, the show means that it will immediately yield that section that you are writing down here. So as soon as I put the parent here, it will immediately show this section start until the end and place it exactly here where it says the show. So this is the difference that we have between the end section and when we place a show in this case. Very well, we are doing progresses here. So what about passing data? So imagine that I have this view child and then I want to pass like name equals to Mark. So the blade templating works exactly on the same way. So I can say this is start of the body, and I put the name of my PHP variable. And when I do an F5, it says mark. See? So it's very simple. You pass data the same way. You use that data in your templating engine using the double brackets. This guy is the blade statement. And then you just pass the name of the data variable that you want to use. Now, when you use these double brackets here, the blade engine translates that with using the HTML special characters. In this case, it's to prevent a cross-site attack and XSS attacks. So if you want to really, so it means that, for instance, if I go here and I write, for instance, like with a special character like this, and then I go back here to the screen, I see the characters, but you have a view source. Well, these ones are not translated. Let's do a special character like this one. If I do an F5, I see the character there, but when I do a view source, it creates the special character. See? So what happens if you want to really pass something like this on your HTML source? So what you need to do is to display unescaped data. And in that case, you use 2 exclamation points, just like this. So if it's an F5, you get exactly the same result. But when you do a view, it actually shows the character that I really want to pass on my variable onto the screen. Now, Blade has much more directives. Let's see some of them so you can see how it works out. So let's go back to this, I don't know, to this file. Let's remove all of these parts. Let's actually go back to our tests, remove this part. And here, let's, for instance, you have another Blade directive that is called the unless. So it's exactly as the word says, unless something happens, then shows. For instance, if I show unless auth check, you are not logged in, and then end unless. So this is where the system sees that the auth checked is becoming false, is returning false, so it shows you are not logged in. So this is a true unless, right? So this kind of things you also have, for instance, the is set, if is set, and then for instance auth check is set, and then end is set. Sorry, in this case we cannot use a method. You can just use, like, I don't know, a variable. See, it doesn't show anything because records is not set, so it doesn't say anything here, as I just wrote. You also have, for instance, Blade directives for if the user is authenticated or not, like auth, and then you write you are authenticated, and then end auth, and then I'm just going to copy paste here, and you write guests, you are not, you are a guest. Let's put it that way. So if you do an F5, guest, sorry, and guest. So if you do an F5, you see you are a guest. So it shows to you that these kind of directives are very useful for you when you are defining your code. Like, for instance, you are creating a form, but you want to show some information only if the user is authenticated. So you can use this auth to immediately write your code there. Or in case you have another type of code, you just write the guest. You don't need to do an if then else, like if authentication this, then that, and at the end it allows you to do these kind of things. But for instance, talking about conditionals, we do have conditionals, directive conditionals. So for instance, if auth check, else, and if. So in this case you are authenticated, and here of course you are not authenticated. So this kind of thing, see, there is also the if that you can use, that you can also see here. We have these sets, we have the empty too, if you want to see. So in case there is a variable that is empty, is set but not with a value, it's empty. we do have more advanced, you also have the switch statement. So, you know, like when you say, for instance, let me see, let's show you an example about the switch. So switch auth check, and then you just need to say case true, okay, and then you do a break, just like you write in PHP, right? And in case false, you say not okay, and then you do another break. You even have the default if you want to use it, and then at the end you just need to do an end switch always to close down the, and it says not okay. Actually, it's just the fact that you're not, it's returning a false. More great directives that you have to use is, for instance, the loops. You can create like, let's just start like, create here a $I. In this case, let me show another directive is the PHP. So I can say this like 0, and then I place here in PHP on this case. So I'm just going to put here like this, and then semicolon, and then for instance you can do a for I equals to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, and you do an and for, and you just put an asterisk. So what's going to happen is that Blade cycles this for, this cycle, right, this loop 10 times and writes what you put here. So if I write mark, it shows mark, exactly like this. So you, of course, then you have a for else, you have a while, you have a for each that you can use, okay? And in the case of the for each, actually, it gives you a very good variable that you can use. That it's the, so let me give an example here. Although if you write like for each, and then you say, I don't know, users, or yeah, it can be users as user, and then you put in for each, okay. On this case, you have, for instance, if you have the loop directive, and the loop is something that you can use, like, for instance, imagine that you are running this for the first time. You are in the first iteration of your cycle. So you just put if, and then loop first. See, and then it runs your code, and if. You can also do, of course, the if loop last, and then end if. And even if you have a nested for each, like another for each inside, you can do like, for instance, if now I have like, I don't know, lamps as lamp, and you want to access the parent loop, you just need to put parent, and it accesses the variable of the loop of the parent, you know what I mean? So again, the loop has a lot of them. You have loop, like you have, for instance, you can, I'm going to take out of this, you have loop index, that it says the index where you are, okay. Normally it starts at 0 in this case, right? You have loop iteration, that is actually starts at 1 because the first iteration, second iteration. You have loop remaining, that says how many are still remaining on that iterations, the remaining iterations count. You have loop count, that is actually the total number of items that you have here to go for it. So if you have like 5 users on this array, it says 5 here. Then you have the first, the last, the depth in case you have nested loops, and you have the parent, in this case the loop parent, where you can actually access the parent loop variable that is there. So as you can see, Blade engines are, the Blade template engines is very, very strong on Laravel. Actually, Taylor invested a lot of time. Even I saw a lot of community pull requests for this. So it's really, really good. It's really evolved, and it works very, very well. I already made a lot of websites using the template engine. I'm always learning something each time I use it. So again, another example that I want to show to you is how do you do comments on Blade. So this is a comment, and if I do an F5 and I do view, there is nothing there, see? So this is a Blade comment that you can use, okay? We also the directives PHP and then PHP, so it's very strong. So actually be careful when you use this one, because, well, you know what can happen, right? Also, if you put a lot of logic here, my opinion, personal experience, maybe you should pass this to a controller or pass this to outside of this code, because Blade, the templates, should actually just show what you need to show, and that's it, and not actually process calculations or process code like these. So also you can include another view. So for instance, let's get an example of this child, and I'm just going to write to you, hi, this is my child view. And this is also very strong on your logic when you are doing. So you can do an include, and then you say child. And actually it was in contrary of the example that we saw in the beginning. In this case, the test is going to include the child view. So if you do an F5, this is my child view. See? And of course, you can also pass data on your child view. So this is really getting strong. So I can pass like name equals to, I don't know, Vivian. So in this case, child name, and then when you go to your child, this is, and then you can again pass name child view. Of course, this is just an example, right? This is Vivian child view. So as you can see, you do have a lot of flexibility to use these in terms of data that you want to pass, in terms of any information that goes to the child view, or even including those child views, as I just mentioned here on this example. So now that we saw all of this, let's just try to see what we can do here on this form by creating, we want to have a contact form, is the example that we are showing here. And we want to evolve this contact form to actually submit the contact form and then show other information like thank you for your message, and that's it. We will get in contact with you very shortly. So we are just going to create the skeleton of the contact form on this lesson very quickly. So we are going to come here and delete all of these files. We delete the child and we delete the tests. We don't need those ones, but we're now going to create this skeleton. So this contact us is actually the full example. So I'm going to do I'm just going to call it layout contact, or actually contact layout .blade.php. And here I'm just going to start derivating the doc type. Actually, I'm going to copy paste everything and then remove. Okay, so I'm just going to copy paste. So we have a head. I'm going to remove it. Then we'll have a body, right? And then there is a script here at the end. So I'm also going to remove all of these parts. So as you can see here, well, this style, we keep it like that, but here I'm going to do yield. In this case, I'm going to do an include because it's almost always the same head. So we're going to call head. And here we are going to include a body. Sorry, my apologies. We're going to include head, and we are going to yield the body, because we are going to actually call not this layout, but we are going to call the contact us child blade view, as we are going to see right away. So I'm just going to do an example here with these two. So now we are going to create our really contact form. So I'm going to call it contact us form.play.php. And here I'm going now to populate this zone. So first what we do is, on this case, we just need to extend it there. So I'm going to contact us forms, and I'm going to write exactly what the same thing that we write before, extends, and then I say contact layout, and that's it. So from now on, I'm going to use this skeleton this parent view that I have here. So now let's start populating things. So head and body, right? So we have two sections here, head and body. So we go here and you write section head and section, and you write section body, and then again and section. So now we are going to copy paste this code that is here. So I'm going to copy paste this part to this section, right? And I'm just going to save, and let's see how it goes on. So I'm going to the web. I'm going to remove all of these. I'm going to call it here the contact us form. Okay. And actually, because we are always clicking on the same buttons, I'm just going to go here to the welcome, to the end, and I'm just going to actually create here our contact us. Okay, and the href here, hyperlink reference, we are going to use a helper file called route, and when we pass the name of the route here that we have, so we go to the web and we call it name, we already learned this on a previous lesson, contact us, and that's it. Actually, I'm going to put an underscore so you can see that it's not the same name as here. It can be whatever name you want to call it. Okay, so I'm going to save here, and I'm going to do like this. I'm going back to our example, and I have this contact us here, and as you can see on the bottom left, it says contact us. See, it knows where to derivate there. Now you don't see anything because I didn't place anything on the body yet, but if I do view source, he already starts writing down that section. See, so for instance, if I go back here and I go back to our, let's just take this one. So this is what actually the skeleton, and it has his heel head, and then contact us form, that is the view that we are loading. It loads this part. Amazing. And now the body. So the body goes for exactly for the same. That means that I'm just going to get this on here, and I pass it here, as you can see. And of course, now if I do an F5, I'll see our contact form. So that's it. It stops here our lesson. I think you already have a lot to learn. It was very good, so I hope you enjoyed it. And of course, leave a comment, follow on Facebook, on Skype, on YouTube also. And on the next lesson, we are going to start transforming this contact form to something live. In this case, we are going to start understanding how we can submit this form and then validate these fields that we have here. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and see you again on the next lesson. Bye bye. So we just saw the Blade template engine, and we could see how powerful it is to develop your web applications. So we saw how you can extend the master layouts. We saw how you can create your own sections to put on the yields, how you can extend a section with a show and with the parents, and we also saw how you can include a view on a subview on your main view. So all of this is something that gives you a lot of flexibility on designing your structure. And it's very important that you think about it, just like we saw in this example on the contact form, prior to start coding it, because it can actually avoid you to later on do some refactoring. Also, we didn't see all the blading directives, and we didn't see also other blade statements that we can also use. So just to say that there will be another course with another lesson specifically for advanced blade templates that was not covered here. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you again on the next session. Thank you very much.